guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video I am going to be showing you guys my eyeshadow collection. I say collection because it's quite a bit. I have a ton of eyeshadow palettes, and that is simply because I am a lover of makeup. Obviously I wouldn't start a YouTube channel if I wasn't a lover of makeup, but I love makeup. I have been growing this collection for years and years and years, and I have so many palettes and I want to show y'all them. I just want to give a disclaimer that in no way am I bragging about any of these. I have this many palettes because simply like I said before, I am a lover of makeup. I do this as a career now, so I, need to have the newest, latest eyeshadow palettes for reviews, and just to let you guys know the hot tea on what's good in the makeup world. So yeah, I'm not bragging about any of this. I am very, very lucky and blessed to have all these eyeshadow palettes. I pay for all of them with my own money that I worked very hard to get in. Yeah, I just wanted to sit back and show you guys all my makeup. Let's just go ahead and get started. First up, I'm going to be talking about my drugstore palettes. I'm gonna go from like drugstore to like high-end luxury. That way it flows nicely. I don't have a ton of palettes from the drugstore simply because I am an eyeshadow brat. I am very particular about my eyeshadows. I need them to be pigmented and blendable and just the best. So I don't have a ton from the drugstore because I can't find great eyeshadows from the drugstore. If you have any suggestions for good drugstore eyeshadows, leave them down below because I only have 4. And I want to build my collection more with drugstore palettes because I know that's more affordable and accessible for you guys. So yeah, just leave good drugstore palettes down below and I will definitely have to check them out. The first one I have up here is the CoverGirl True Naked Peach Punch palette. I did a review of this palette a few videos back, and I liked this palette for a $6 palette. I thought it was quite nice. I haven't used it a ton since that video I posted, but it's still a nice palette. I would recommend it if you want a peach palette from the drugstore. I think it's really nice. Next up, we have an OG eyeshadow palette. This is Wet n Wild Comfort Zone, and I love this palette. It's so beautiful. It is all shimmers, so it's not like the most versatile palette in the world. I do have to pair it with like another palette that has more mattes in it, but it's still super nice. I love the formula of Wet n Wild shimmers. They are bomb. They are so good, and this was so cheap. It was like $5, and it's such good quality. It's been on the market forever. I think they revamped it to now there's like, it's the same shimmers, but there's 2 mattes in there as well. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Next up, I have the Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. If you saw my last video, you would know that I'm not the biggest fan of this palette. I am going to get rid of it and donate to somebody that would like it more than I do because I just wasn't impressed with the quality of shadows. And yeah, that's all I really gotta say. If you want to hear more in-depth thoughts about this, go check out that video. Okay, last up from my drugstore section, I have the Makeup Revolution Soph X Ultra Eyeshadow Palette. I really like this palette. For one, the packaging is amazing. If you don't know who Soph X is, she is known as Soph Does Nails here on YouTube. And Makeup Revolution came out with a bomb eyeshadow palette. They also have a highlighter palette that I own, and it's amazing. But yeah, this eyeshadow palette, it's really pretty. I wish I could play with it more. I haven't touched it. I've played with it quite a bit, but I need to play with it some more. But I really like the quality of shadows. I think this is a beautiful palette. Okay, now we're gonna move on to like affordable, still low cost, budget friendly palettes, but you can't find them at the drugstore. Well, some of them you can. I'll get into it. First up, we have ColourPop, which is sold at some Ultas, not all. The one closest to me doesn't have ColourPop, but I wish it would because I love ColourPop. I only have 3 other palettes, but I have a ton of other lip products, and just overall, I really love ColourPop as a brand. I think they come with amazing quality products. First up, I have the Dream Street palette, which was in collaboration with Kathleen Lights here on YouTube. Love Kathleen, love her so much. This palette is gorgeous. I love this palette. You can see like how used and abused it is. I've only had this for a few months as well, and I use it quite a bit, and I love it so much. Definitely recommend it. It's amazing. The marble packaging, love. And then next up, I have the Mar and Soul palette, which I also did a review on these 2 palettes, which is on my channel. I will link it below, or try to leave some of these videos in the cards for you guys. I keep mentioning because I've mentioned like 3 different videos at this point. But yeah, I got these because for one, they're gorgeous, and for 2, I wanted to review them on my channel, and I'm so glad I picked them up because I love these palettes so much. They are so gorgeous. They take my breath away. Really good quality as well. I will definitely leave my review though up in the cards or down below. I'm not sure which yet. Next up, I have my Juvia's Place eyeshadows, which I have quite a bit of. I'm just gonna give like a little brief overview of each one because I do have 5 of these, and that's just a bit. much. First up, we have the Saharan palette by Juvia's Place. This palette I find really difficult to create looks with just because the colors are kind of all over the place. It's really hard for me to think of like a cohesive look with this. I don't know. I like the quality of the palette, but I never pick it up. I can't figure out how to make a decent look with this, so I never like reach for it. But I wish I would because the quality is really well and I like some of those colors in there, but it's not coherent. Next up, we have the Zulu palette by Juvia's Place. This palette is so pretty. Look at those bomb colors. This is one of my only palettes I have that's like strictly colorful. Like, look at all those. Like, the only neutral shade is like that brown up there. That's it. Like, the rest are just colorful and beautiful. I keep this palette just for that reason. I love playing with color, and so whenever I need like, you know, a vibrant mustardy yellow or orange or one of these purpley shades, I grab this palette because it's amazing quality. And yeah, I like playing with color quite a bit. Next up from Juvia's Place, we have the Masquerade palette, which this palette I think is the best bang for your buck from Juvia's Place, because not only are you getting these neutral shades that most people use on a daily basis, but you're also getting 2 rows of fun colors. And again, the quality of Juvia's Place is amazing. I like them more than a brand I'm about to talk about real quick, but yeah, they're really one of my favorite affordable high-end brands. ColourPop and Juvia's Place like neck and neck with me for like my favorite affordable quality. But yeah, they're amazing. Definitely the biggest bang for your buck because this is like $20-ish and you get a bunch of shadows. The pan sizes are quite big with Juvia's Place and the quality is just, you can't beat it. Next up, we have the Nubian 2 by Juvia's Place. Again, with this palette, I don't reach for it a ton just because, I don't know, I think I could make more of a wearable look with this one than the Saharan one, but I just don't reach for it a ton. I think this is more of a fall palette. Once it becomes like October or November, I will definitely play with this some more because I think it's beautiful. But yeah, I just don't reach for it a ton. I wish I would because looking at this is beautiful. Why don't I play with this? Lastly, we have the Magic palette by Juvia's Place. I also did a video with this palette, which I will link either down below or up in the cards. And I love this palette. It's so pretty. It's definitely like more funky and different, but I love it. This palette, in comparison to the Saharan one, I can see looks with this one. Like, I can look at this and like see 3 different looks in my head just with one glance that I could recreate with this. Like, I love this palette. I love all these deep blue shades. Ugh. Love Juvia's Place in general. Amazing. Next up for affordable eyeshadow palettes, I have some of my Morphe palettes. I used to have like 7 of these and now I'm down to like 3, just because, for starters, I think Morphe palettes are super overwhelming because there's 35 shades, and for me, like, that's a lot of eyeshadow to work with and look at and try to like think of. And also, some of these colors are super repetitive. Like, there's like 4 browns that kind of look similar, and I don't know. That's why I got rid of a bunch of them, because I just thought like a lot of the shades are super repetitive within the palettes and I didn't need to have 60 brown shades that were very similar. And so I only kept 3 of them. The ones I kept were the Morphe 35R, because while I just said I got rid of palettes because there was a bunch of brown shades, these brown shades are like my tones. Like, they're very neutral browns. You have all these beautiful golden shimmers, and I love this palette. I used it a ton when I first got it. I haven't used it in a minute. I definitely should play with it more. I love all the shimmers over here, and they're beautiful shimmers, and all these mattes. Another palette I kept from Morphe was the 3502. I got rid of my 35O because I attempted to depot it and I destroyed the palette. And I just didn't run up to repurchase it because I have all those shades in different palettes. But the Morphe 3502 I love because it has those fiery orangey colors, and again, when I look at this palette, I'm so inspired, and that's the reason I kept this one and the 35R, because I look at them, I can see looks and envision looks with them that I would definitely wear on like a daily basis. Right, next up from Morphe, I have the oh so famous, oh so dirty and beaten Jaclyn Hill palette. This is the one she launched with Morphe last summer. I got it on the second launch because it sold out in the first launch and I was so upset about it. But I picked up in the second launch, and as you can see, I definitely love this palette. I think for the first 6 months I had this palette, this was the only eyeshadow palette I even touched. I didn't pick up any of my other palettes. I only used this one. Clearly, it's so beaten. I've hit pan on so many of the shades. I'm close to hitting pan with even more shades. But honestly, I haven't picked it up in a few months just because I've grew my collection since then. I have other palettes that I love as well, and I just don't ever touch it. But I should, because I love the quality of this. This is like the best Morphe palette they've ever come out with. And I will be picking up the Boldt collection Jaclyn is launching this year. I don't know when they're gonna launch it. They just had to like what's the word? They had like reformulated. There was something wrong with the first batch. I don't really know the whole details on it. I just know that it hasn't launched yet, and when it does, I'm definitely picking up the full collection, because if anything like this one, I'm all about it because I love this palette. Clearly it's disgusting looking. Lastly, for affordable eyeshadow palettes, I have my BH Cosmetic Carly Bible Deluxe Edition palette. Again, I love this palette so much. For one, there's a mirror. Love that. None of these palettes I mentioned before have mirrors besides the Mar and Soul palette by ColourPop. But clearly I love these highlighters. I use them almost every single day. They are so blinding and wet looking on the skin. These highlighters are like my favorite highlighters of all time. Like I would spend $20 just on one of these pans of highlighters. Seriously. But the whole palette itself is like $22.50, I believe. The shadows up here remind me of like Makeup Geek quality eyeshadows. Like when I play with those shadows, like I'm just thinking like this feels like a Makeup Geek shadow. So if you've ever played with Makeup Geek before, you'll notice like these are quite similar. But all in all, amazing. Again, I love the packaging of this, and Carly is an amazing YouTuber. I love her so much. She's amazing. Has such a good heart and personality, and I had to support her and buy this, and I'm glad I did because it's an amazing, amazing, amazing palette. Okay, so now we're gonna move into my high-end palettes here. I'm gonna start with Tarte just because I have only 2 Tarte palettes. I used to have a bunch more, but I got rid of them just because, again, I feel like with Tarte's eyeshadows, it's very repetitive. They have the same like 10 brown shades they include in every palette, and I just didn't need all those, so I kept 2 that I thought I would use all the time. First up, we have the Tarte Maneater. I don't know if this is available anymore. This is, I believe, this is like the revamped version of the original Maneater. The original Maneater didn't have a black shade. It had like that shimmer shade. It was like these 2 shades in one for that shimmer shade. I don't even know how to explain that. But yeah, this is the volume 2 of the Maneater, and I love this palette for traveling purposes. It has a nice mirror. It has everyday shadows that I personally use on a daily basis, and so when I travel and go places, I take it with me. And then lastly from Tarte, I have the Tarte Sex Kitten. This is like, again, a used and abused eyeshadow palette. The fact that I'm showing this on camera just says a lot because, oh, this is so disgusting to look at, but I definitely got my love out of it. I love it so, I used to love this palette so much, and it's still great. I keep it in my collection just because, I mean, for memory purposes, and also because I don't have a ton of cool toned eyeshadows, and this palette is like all cool tones. So I keep it just in case I ever need a cool tone shadow, plus I just, at one point I love this palette more than life itself, and so I keep it. Next up, I have some palettes from Dose of Colors. I have all 4 of their like little 5-pan eyeshadow palettes. Dose of Colors is so underrated. No one gives them the credit they deserve because these are like the best eyeshadows I've ever tried in my entire life. This one is the one I'm wearing on my eyes today, and it's just, they're so pigmented and they blend like butter on my eyes. It takes like 2 seconds for a shadow to blend. They're amazing. I love them. I use this one like on a daily basis. This is the Baked Browns one. Absolutely love it. I also have the Blushing Berries one, which I don't touch as much just because these aren't really my shades. I don't gravitate towards these, but I do actually use the black in here quite often. Again, I have Marvelous Mauves from Dose of Colors. Again, I don't use this a ton because I'm not really a purple eyeshadow wearer, but it is pretty. I have it just in case because I know I like the quality of Dose of Color shadows, so I went out and bought all 4 of them. And then next up, I have the Sassy Siennas from Dose of Colors. I use this one probably, like I use the Baked Browns one the most, and then this one's probably like a second runner-up because I use like these 3 right here. I don't really touch those 2. I use just the 3 browns because on a daily basis, I just wear neutral brown shades. I have all 4 of these, and they are amazing. I really highly recommend Dose of Colors eyeshadows. I think they are so underrated, and no one talks about them, but they are bomb, bomb, bomb. I have some of my Urban Decay palettes right here. I used to own every single Naked palette, and then I recently decolored a bunch of eyeshadow. Actually, if you can believe it, I have decolored quite a bit of my eyeshadow collection. And with that, I got rid of almost every Naked palette except for this one because honestly, someone really special to me in my life got it for me as a gift, and I just can't get rid of it because it makes me think of that person, and I can't get rid of it just because it has sentimental value to me, which is crazy to say, like, it's an eyeshadow palette, why does it have sentimental value? But it really truthfully does. When I use it, I just think of that person, and I can't get rid of it. You know, it has a special place in my heart. So I kept the original Urban Decay Naked palette because of sentimental value. I also have the Urban Decay Beach palette. This one they recently launched. The packaging sold me. I love palm trees, pineapples, anything tropical I'm all about, and so when I saw the packaging I had to have it. Plus these colors are gorgeous. I have used it quite a bit and it's beautiful, but my only complaint is that there's only 1 matte shade, and I am somebody that uses a ton of matte shadows when I am doing an eyeshadow look, And so when I use this palette, I can only create like an all shimmer look with one matte in my crease, and I don't love that aspect of it, but I still pick it up a ton because the shadows are definitely like what I use. I like the warm browns and reds and the blues. I also have the two eyeshadow palettes that Kristen Lee Ann here on YouTube came out with Urban Decay. Anytime a YouTuber or influencer comes out with something, I pick it up because I personally like supporting YouTubers and other influencers when they come out with products with big major brands like Urban Decay, and so I pick up pretty much every influencer collab ever, as you can kind of tell by my collection here. The first one here, we have the Urban Decay times Kristen Lee Ann Kaleidoscope palette. This palette is very funky, and I don't pick it up a ton just because, again, I can't think of like a wearable look with it using the shades because there's only two mattes and the rest are all shimmer. But it is really good quality. It's better than other Urban Decay palettes in my opinion, and I really, really like that palette. And then I also have the Urban Decay times Kristen Lee Ann Daydream palette, which I used quite a bit when I first picked it up. Like the first week I had it, I used it daily. Haven't really touched it since just because I have an overwhelming amount of palettes that sometimes they just get lost in the shuffle. But I keep it because it is really good quality and I like supporting Kristen, so yeah. Okay, next up we have my all-time favorite. I know I said Dose of Colors was my favorite, they're second best. My all-time favorite quality eyeshadows ever are the Anastasia palettes. I have 4 of them here. I am picking up the new one they have launching on the 17th, the Norvina palette. I am definitely getting it because I love Anastasia shadows. I think consistently throughout they're so amazing. I know some people didn't like Subculture, but I personally liked it. I was able to make it work, and the tones are super grungy in fall, and so I love using this palette in the fall time. It's gorgeous. The first palette I ever owned from Anastasia was the Modern Renaissance, just like a lot of other people, and again, you can tell when I love an eyeshadow palette because this is what it looks like. It's really used and abused, and this was like the first high-end palette I really owned. I mean, it's not the first one, but it's one of the first, and it's the first one from Anastasia, so I definitely got my money's worth, used it, abused it, still have. I use it occasionally sometimes still, not a ton just because it's disgusting looking. But yeah, I love, love, love that palette so much, as a lot of other people do too. I also have the Anastasia Prism palette. This was their holiday palette for 2017. This one I liked, but I don't use it a ton just because it's mainly a shimmer. Once again, I need my matte shadows in my life, and so I don't use it too much, but I do love it when I do use it because it's beautiful. Anastasia's quality is just so impeccable. Like, no one can top them. No one in my opinion can ever top Anastasia quality. You just can't do it. And then lastly from Anastasia, I have the Soft Glam eyeshadow palette. This is something I use on a daily basis. I go back and forth between this palette and the Dose of Colors Baked Browns palette because I just love neutral browns with a hint of warm undertone, and that's pretty much what this entire palette is, and so I use it quite a bit. It is quite dirty. So yeah, I love Anastasia shadows. They are one of the best on the market. I really highly recommend picking up at least one Anastasia eyeshadow palette in your life. Okay, next up we have some random stragglers from the high-end side of makeup that I just don't have multiples of from certain brands. First up we have Life's a Drag by Lunar Beauty. I love this palette. I am so proud of Manny for coming out with such an amazing quality palette with his first launch ever. I love it. This palette is freaking huge for starters, and these are colors that I just... Again, it has those neutral browns that I love, but it also has pops of colors I can use and create a creative look with it. And I just think he did a really amazing job with this palette. I really highly recommend Life's a Drag by Lunar Beauty. Amazing. I love it. I wish, however, I'm going to just be picky here for a second. I don't love that it's like all neutrals over here and then like all colors over here. I wish it was like arranged differently, which is just me being picky, but I just think it's really cut and dry and I don't love that aspect of it. But besides that, the quality is what matters, and the quality is amazing. I'm so proud of Manny. This is amazing. He did a good job. Next up, I have the Moonstruck Addiction Shadow Palette by Unique. This is a palette I used like every day in high school. This was definitely something that you can tell I used in high school all the time. I don't pick it up anymore just because I have other shadows now that I like more. But yeah, this is definitely a favorite from high school, and again, I can't get rid of it because it holds a sentimental value in my heart. It makes me think of high school and prom because this is the eyeshadow palette I used for my prom makeup. And yeah, I can't get rid of it because it just holds a place in my heart. But I don't pick it up anymore. Maybe I should pick it up some more, but yeah, I don't get rid of it just because it holds a special place in my heart. Okay, I'm about to go on a bit of a rant here. I have the Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow palette. And I just want to start off this by saying I no longer support Kat Von D whatsoever. I will never be purchasing another thing from her brand ever again because she publicly announced on her Instagram that she is not going to be vaccinating her child. and I do not support anti-vaxxers. That is something I am so strongly against. You need to vaccinate your kids because it puts other people at risk that either can't be vaccinated or haven't got the vaccination yet, and I just think you're being really inconsiderate to other people when you are not vaccinating your children that are capable of being vaccinated. It's just a stupid thing. I don't know why it's popular for people not to vaccinate their kids. I think it's so dumb, and so I will not be purchasing this palette. I will not be featuring this palette on my channel anymore after this. I'm just including it because I do own it, and this is a collective haul. But no, I refuse to support her as a brand anymore. I'm so against that. I cannot believe she would do that, and the only reason I'm even keeping this palette is because it holds a sentimental value in my heart. Once again, someone really important to me in my life got this for me as a gift, and I don't want to get rid of it because it makes me think of that person, and I have a lot of sentimental value with this palette. And it is a good quality palette, but I'm not featuring it on my channel anymore after this. I'm not ever going to really probably touch it again because I do not support her anymore, the person or a brand. I can't support someone that's not going to vaccinate their children. Next up, I do have my custom Z palette. I don't purchase any more Z palettes because they also did some shady stuff. They were really rude to their customers on Twitter one time, and it was bad. So I'm not going to be purchasing any more Z palettes, but I do keep this one because I already bought it prior to that Twitter moment. And so I just keep my single shadows in here. I have single shadows from mainly Makeup Geek and Anastasia. I have two Morphe ones down here. This is like an Ofra bronzer. Yeah, I don't ever really touch this anymore just because I don't really play with single shadows, but I keep it because it was super expensive. The palette alone was empty, and it was 20 bucks, and every shadow was at least like $10 in here. So I keep it because it was expensive to create. And sometimes, occasionally, I will play with it, but not a ton. Okay, and lastly, I have my luxury high-end eyeshadow palettes. I don't like saying that. I don't like saying I have a luxury makeup because it makes me feel weird. I don't know. But I have two Natasha Dona palettes here, and I know they're super overpriced. I know they are. I'm well aware that these cost way more than they should. I'm aware. I get it. I understand. But I bought two of them because I am a makeup junkie, hoarder. I have problems, I know. I recently bought the Tropic palette a couple months back when it first came out, and I love this palette. I used it once on my channel. My dogs picked out my makeup, and they picked the most expensive palette I own. I do love this palette. It's really nice. It is like a really good palette, and the quality is great. I don't think it's worth $120. I don't, but it's a good palette, and I like Natasha Dona as a person and as a makeup artist, so I have two of her palettes. I don't know if I'll keep purchasing them because they are so expensive, but I do like them. They're great quality. I have one kind of theory, I guess, on Natasha Dona eyeshadow palettes. I feel like Shane Dawson when I say theory. I have the Natasha Dona Star palette. This is like an older palette from them. I purchased it last summer though because I finally saved enough money to buy a Natasha Dona palette, and this is the one that caught my eye the most because I thought if I'm going to spend money on a Natasha Dona palette, it's going to be something that is different and makes me play with makeup and gets me excited, you know, not just, I don't know. I just thought like this is the palette I should buy from Natasha Dona. With that being said, since this is an older palette, it's been out for about 3 years, I think, maybe even longer. I think I got an older palette because this isn't the same quality that's in the Tropic palette. So I don't know if she's just improved through the years or if this is expired, if I got like one of the last ones on the shelf, you know? Because even from the start when I got this palette, it wasn't that great, and I was actually really disappointed in Natasha Dona's quality. And I wasn't going to buy any more palettes from her, but then I saw the Tropic palette and I just had to have it because, again, those are my colors in there. But yeah, I wasn't super impressed with this one. I keep it just because it was so expensive, and sometimes I will try to make it work, but usually it's just because this color is so beautiful, and that's the only good color in this whole palette that doesn't get chalky and fall out in my face. But yeah, I have a theory that her palettes expire within the first year, and if you buy it after it's been on the shelf for a year, you're gonna get a bad quality palette. I think when this first came out, and if it was like right off the press or whatever, it was probably bomb. But since it was on the shelf for so long, I think the quality did deteriorate in it, which is sad to say for a $170 palette, but I think that is the case with Natasha Dona. So if you buy a Natasha Dona eyeshadow palette, make sure you use the crap out of it. Don't buy one that like you're never gonna touch because they do expire, in my opinion. I don't know if everyone experiences that, but they expire in my opinion. Alright guys, so that was my entire collection of makeup. I know it was a lot. I'm aware. I'm aware that I have way too many eyeshadow palettes, and it's crazy because I just decluttered like a few weeks ago. I got rid of a ton of palettes a couple weeks ago, and I still have so many eyeshadow palettes. But to be fair, this is something I love and I'm passionate about. I create a YouTube channel just for eyeshadow and makeup in general. And I also do others' makeup. I do like my sisters and cousins and aunts, and I do some people's wedding makeup. So I keep all these things not only to use on myself, but to use on others, and it's just, I'm a hoarder. What can I say? I'm a makeup hoarder. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.